Dang it!
God!
No, 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 no!
No!
Damn it! Fucking God! Stupid! God damn it!
Come on, man!
Recently, I've been watching a few Battle Cats challenge videos, where the player in question has to complete specific portions of the game using only one slot in their loadout. So, being the genius Neptunia brain rotter that I am, I pondered to myself, how could I translate this challenge into one of the Neptunia games? And then it hit me. What if I attempted Rebirth 1's Colosseum using only one party member? Well, I'm sure you've already inferred that from the title of this video, but that's exactly what I'm going to be attempting here today. This will be a shorter video to keep myself from getting rusty in the event a trailer drops sometime in the next couple of months, so if you're wondering why the video seems shorter than my last couple of videos, that's why. Now, for the sake of trying to keep this intro from dragging on, I'm not going to go too in-depth about the challenge at hand. The most relevant information that I want to make known is that I won't be going through the entire Colosseum in this video. That would simply take way too long. So think of it as me trying to beat the hardest fights within the Colosseum with just one party member, as beating those would mean that I can beat all of the lower leveled fights as well. So in that sense, the title is technically a lie, but what are you gonna do? Every other bit of information that I find worth explaining, but didn't put in the intro, I'll put into a pinned comment in a sort of Q&A style format. We all good on that? Good. With that said, let's not waste any more time and get right into the challenge. As I stated before, I'm not going to be showing every single fight you can do in the Colosseum. That would drag out the video and essentially just be a whole half hour or more of me spamming Nep/slash with Neptune. So instead, I'll just jump to some of the more interesting fights, starting with the first two fights at level 900+, Steel Demon and Floating in Air. For these, you fight against the Weather Vane Crab and Wind Whale respectively, with no additional supporting allies. Compared to the other fights you're about to see, these two are relative cakewalks. They're pretty easy to beat, and all you really need to do is build up the EXE gauge, flank them, and blast them a few times to wear them down. The Wind Whale can be a bit cumbersome to defeat given its size, making it hard to flank and deal the most damage from behind. But as long as you're hitting it from the side, you'll still do plenty of damage to it. Even if it regenerates twice in one cycle because of its speed, you should be fine. All in all, these fights aren't particularly noteworthy, but like I said, these pale in comparison to the fights ahead. After all, there weren't any jammers present in this fight, which is why they were so easy. But oh boy, it's about to get a whole lot worse from here. Of the next 5 fights, I'll start with the one I consider to be the easiest, which is Thunderstream. This fight sees you face up against a Raijin Soldier, a Thunder Golem, and the skill and item jammers. Right away, a problem, or two for that matter, is already presented in the form of the jammers. As their names imply, these enemies prevent you from being able to use your SP skills and EXE drives, as well as your items, making you limited to just your basic combo attacks. This makes it much harder to deal with not only the bosses on the field, but also the jammers themselves, as they're incredibly tanky through their resistance to physical attacks, as well as resistance to every element except for the one they're weak to. Thankfully, despite the heavy restrictions, Uni is well equipped to deal with the skill jammer in particular, which is arguably the most problematic of the entire bunch. After transforming into her goddess form, Uni is capable of doing at least 50,000 damage per use of High Grenade, which can be made even higher by attacking the jammer from the sides. 2 High Grenades are enough to ensure that the jammer is unable to heal off all the damage dealt to it, which is my only real strategy when it comes to dealing with it. Not that I have much of a choice to begin with, but hey, if it works, then it works. This does mean that the fights that feature the skill jammer take a while and end up being the same relatively speaking, but at least it's not impossible. After 5 whole minutes of wailing on the skill jammer, I'm allowed access to my EXE drives once again. I want to stress how important it is that you defeat the skill jammer as soon as possible, as while it isn't a particularly big deal in this fight specifically, it is a big deal in the other fights that feature much more powerful and deadly enemies that are capable of killing you if things go south. Especially one particular fight that I'll get to soon enough. Regardless, with my EXE drives, I'm able to take down the Raijin Soldier and the Thunder Golem with ease, leaving just the Item Jammer. The end of this fight is essentially in the bag, as the Item Jammer is unable to do any lasting damage to me. It can inflict me with status effects, which is annoying, but that's nothing a TPS chip can't solve. Overall, this fight certainly was more threatening, but it didn't pose too many issues that would make it impossible to clear. Alright, now this is where things start getting really dangerous. Just like Thunderstream, we're faced up against both the skill and item jammers once again, but the main boss this time is the Servant of Raijin. Though its name is similar to the Raijin Soldier from before, this guy is much more dangerous, as it's actually capable of dealing meaningful damage to me. This is further compounded by the fact that the skill jammer is capable of lowering my magical defense stat, letting the bird deal even more damage to me, which I can't heal off unless I skip a turn of damage and defend. This immediately presents more of a threat than the last fight did, which is why I emphasize the importance of taking out the skill jammer. Of course, like last time, I focus down the skill jammer and pelt it with high grenades to take it out as soon as possible, all while trying to survive any attacks from the bird. Once I take it down though, the bird soon follows it, as a few EXE drives are enough to shoot it down. After that, the item jammer follows, making for a fight that, while difficult than the last, revolves around the same strategy. And as you're going to see for the next 3 fights, yeah, it's kinda the same thing. This fight is similar to Thunder and Lightning, starring the 2 jammers as well as the main boss. This time, the boss in question is the Forest God, an ancient dragon with immensely buff stats. Out of every enemy that I encounter in this challenge, this guy is probably the second most dangerous, as he possesses incredible bulk along what I think is the most powerful enemy skill in the game. That, of course, is Dragon Raid, which inflicts huge damage, every single status effect, and every single stat debuff in the game. The statuses aren't a problem since I have a chip that prevents me from being inflicted with them, but the stat debuffs can become a major issue, as lowering my physical and magical defense leaves me vulnerable to the Force God's other attacks. Second verse, same as the first, though, my strategy is to simply target the skill jammer until it's dead. Well, that was until I realized I didn't even have my game disc equipped.
Oh wait, did I not equip the disc? I didn't even equip the disc, I'm so stupid.
But yeah, that blunder aside, I kill the skill jammer and make quick work of the Forest God using multiple NGPs, before finishing the fight off by cleaning up the item jammer afterwards. Yet again, this fight is more difficult than the last fight, but the strategy remains as strong as ever. And that same old continues in the next fight as well. When I first came up with the idea for this challenge, this, alongside the other level 999 Colosseum battle, was a fight I assumed would be an impossible endeavor going into it. Not only am I faced with the 2 jammer enemies, as per usual, but I'm also faced up against one of the most powerful and bulky enemies in the game, being the Ultra Dimension Dogu. I figured that the fight would end around the point where I got the skill jammer's health to about 2/3, as I'd be taking more damage than I could heal. But surprisingly, this one was actually very possible. Despite the Dogu being incredibly strong, its attacks consisted of several physical attacks, which Uni was more than capable of handling due to her shockingly good tanking capabilities. On top of this, its damage wasn't so absurd to the point where I couldn't heal it off with the constant health regen from my game disc, which was a huge relief. It only truly became a problem when the jammers lowered my defenses, which made me more vulnerable to the Dogu's attacks, dealing more damage that I couldn't fully heal off. But, yet again, I'm sure you're getting tired of me saying it at this point. The strategy revolves around killing the skill jammer as fast as possible in order to deal with the other 2 threats in this fight. I was hoping that this same pattern would carry its weight in the next fight as well, but if the intro edit was anything to go by, we've got some problems here. Oh this is the one. This is the one fight that I knew was going to be the roadblock of this challenge. And I'm sure those of you who are familiar with this fight know exactly what I'm talking about. Mascot Returns is the other level 999 fight in this game, and is by far the most difficult challenge in Rebirth 1. You thought the other ones were bad? No. I'm convinced this is what actual hell looks like. In Mascot Returns, you're faced up against the skill jammer, though no item jammer to speak of, meaning you're able to use all of your buffing items with nothing stopping you. And trust me when I say, you're going to need them, because the other 3 enemies are incredibly powerful. Let's call them the big 3, you know, cause they deserve to be called something a little menacing. The other enemies you fight are a Dogu, a Pixelvator, and a Cleone, all the strongest of their kind. And when I say that, I mean it. These guys do not fuck around whatsoever. I went into this fight with the same strategy as every previous fight, focus down the skill jammer and take it out, and then finish off the rest with my EXE drives. But as soon as I started, I was met with a very, very strict response.
No. Stop that.
These guys' attacks are insanely strong, even with weakened enemies enabled to reduce their stats. The Cleone, in particular, possesses some really strong magic attacks that do more damage than I can heal off in a single hit. This is the main reason why this fight is so difficult when using a single party member. You have to prepare for both damage types at the same time. Sure, you had to do that beforehand, but when it comes to these guys, their attacks deal so much damage with one type or the other that you can't fully prepare for both of them when using a character by themselves. I could buff myself up with an int booster Z to increase my magic defense to counter the Cleone, but then I'd have to take a lot of damage from the Pixelvator and Dogu's physical attacks before I get the opportunity to buff myself up with an SCR booster Z. Not only does it use up one of my int booster's turns, but I also don't get to inflict any precious damage to the skill jammer. This fight was pretty clearly designed around you using all 3 party member slots to not have one character soak up all the damage, especially from that bastard Cleone. And so, because of how difficult it was to prepare for this fight, I died again, and again, and again, and—
Be quiet! Shut up!
I tried creating different discs, switching out my partner, sometimes both, but in the end, I was met with the same exact result, a defeat. Every single time. As far as I'm aware, there's absolutely no way to beat Mascot Returns by using just a single party member, unless, by some miracle, you get the godliest of godly RNG and avoid taking huge damage from all of the strongest enemies in this fight. And keep in mind, this is all with weakened enemies enabled. I don't even want to imagine what it would be like without weakened enemies enabled, or worse, enabling fortify enemies to make them stronger. So, to answer the question, is it possible to beat Rebirth 1's Colosseum using only a single party member? No. No, it is not possible to my knowledge. Well, that's it from me, folks. Once again, a shorter video this time around, just so I don't go out of shape when it comes to video editing. I gotta prepare myself for when Compile Heart finally stops hiding shit from us and gives us a new game trailer after all. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did playing through these fights with the challenge in mind. Maybe even you'll try this for yourself, see if you can beat that dastardly Mascot Returns with your own strategy and or luck. But with all of that said, thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more Neptunia content from me, and as always, I'll catch you all in the next upload. Peace!